All right, so basically in the packet from Chapter 21, there's going to be a little more notes, which goes right after the notes we did from yesterday. And then you want to make sure that you look at page 7, which is investigative task, and be ready tomorrow with an idea of, I'm going to do a confidence interval, I'm going to do a hypothesis test, I'm going to use margin of error, I'm going to look at errors that could possibly, types of errors that could happen. Next, here is the one card I gave you. This want to make sure that the card for confidence intervals has the P hats and Q hats in it. I had missed those on the video from yesterday. Here is the Chapter 20 classwork that we did together in groups. You guys handed the group papers in. Here's a copy of the answers so you can check your work, kind of look through. Remember, this is a little more brief. This doesn't have every single thing you need in there. For instance, missing like maybe some wording that in my conditions and such. But this at least gives you a good idea of what you need to have on your paper for the most part. Here's the bottom part of that first page in that classwork. Here's the other side of that page. And the bottom part. Remember, you can always go back, you can pause it, you can rewind. That's a nice thing about the video. All right, real quick, going back to the packet on Chapter 21. This is page 4, the one that was the click it or ticket. We had skipped this in the notes yesterday. Do me a favor and pause now and see if you can fill in the conditions on the right. So just fill in which of those which condition fits with the kind of explanation part of the condition. The box is going to be for our hypotheses, so our null and our alternative hypothesis. So H0 and HA. You can also see if you can fill those in as well. So pause it now, try to fill those in, and then play and see if you got it right. Here are your conditions: independence, random, 10% condition, and success failure. How'd you do? Our hypotheses are H0 is that P is equal to the point 8. That's what we were actually told, kind of as reported, 80% were buckling up. And our HA, which is our alternative, is that P is less than 0.8. We want to see, it says, is there evidence that fewer than 80% are buckling up? So the actual question has to do with the idea that this study, the sample that was pulled, found 101 out of 134 that were buckling up in the study. So here is the actual work to get through and get the confidence interval. Notice 90% confidence at the bottom, that inverse norm that we talked about in class today. You have your sample P. P has 0.75. That's the 101 out of 134. You have the 0.037, which comes from those sample values as well. Your confidence interval, statistic plus or minus, plus and minus, the margin of error. Remember, that is actually on your formula sheet. And then there's all the work. Your confidence interval is from 0.689 to 0.811. And on the next page, we will finish that off and give a conclusion. So here's your conclusion. You can read through that, fill in the blanks. When you come in tomorrow, let me know if you have any questions. You're going to make sure that the page 7 stuff is kind of done. Just jot off to the side. You can even start some of the work if you want, but tomorrow in class, your main job is going to be to get those done and to get those handed in by the end of class if possible. You may need a little more time than that, but you should be able to get through the majority of that. You are going to have to check some conditions, so reading through the problems, it would be good to kind of maybe jot down your success failure, real quick. Jot down a quick snippet on, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. Am I going to do a 1 proportion z-test? Am I going to do a confidence interval? Am I just going to do margin of error formula? Am I going to use the types of errors that we just went over in this packet and try to tell what's going on and how that fits? So go through and try to do some of that tonight. You have some time with just having to do the notes. Take a little bit of time to get some of that prepared for tomorrow. A little more notes. This has to do with errors and how to reduce errors. A lot of times this is a multiple choice question. So fill these in, write these down. This also has to do with the power of the test. Your power of your test is how well you actually do reject your null when it's actually false. So that's the power of your test. So just fill this in, write this down. We'll end up talking a little more about these types of ideas again in the next couple of days. And this is on page 8 in your packet. Last thing for your notes, fill in this next part on page 8. Again, it tells you a little bit about power, what that power is, kind of what's going on, and kind of gives you an idea of how that fits into place. The next I think the next page or so is just some what not to do notes, so you should read through those as well. Reading chapter 21 is due tomorrow, so make sure that that's completed. Hopefully you've already worked on that. And then make sure you go back to page 7 and get some notes jotted down for that, even if you want to write some stuff down in your spiral for it, just to kind of go along with those problems so you're ready and prepared for tomorrow. Have a good night.